everyone, and welcome to Her Badass Story 3 Summit. Woo! And this is going to be a lot of fun tonight. So, you're going to get to meet all the fantastic authors that have been a part of this phenomenal book. This is volume 3 of Her Badass Story series. So, we want you, the viewer, to get to know everybody that's in the book. If you have not purchased the book, we will provide a link in a little while, but it is available on Amazon through ebook. And Monday is the official launch of the paperback book for Her Badass Story 3. We have 8 total authors that are in this volume. And as the other 2 volumes, the same thing. It's fantastic stories going from trauma to triumph to transformation, or some sort of challenge where each woman has been empowered by their own personal fortitude and resilience, and they have stepped up and just made an amazing life for themselves. Even if they are currently a work in progress, they have still done an amazing job, because that is growth, right? We are constantly growing anyway. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Lori Monaco. I'm also known as Badass Buddha. I am a coach, a teacher, speaker, coach. I am a wellness professional, and I am the creator of the Her Badass Story series. This series was created, I do say it in the book, but basically it was created when I was approached about writing a book. And then when I thought about doing a compilation book, when they were saying, well, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? I said, you know what? I want to talk about stories. Like, I want women to come on and share their stories. And I had already thought that this wasn't just going to be a one-shot deal. That I had said to myself, you know what? I had wanted to do this sort of in a format of video format, like being on TV, or being in a like specifically something called the Gaia Network, if you've ever heard of Gaia.com. And that was in my head, was, to interview 2 people per show and for them to share their stories. So since that was a little bit more complicated to create, I decided, well, you know what, let's put this into a book format. And lo and behold, here we are. And the beauty of the series is that women come from all backgrounds, all ages, diverse backgrounds, with amazing stories, not just of the story that they share, but their entire life story is incredible. And the beauty is that these individuals, these women, they didn't even know that that story was necessarily going to come out of them, because they start to create the story, and then occasionally it will veer into something that they didn't even expect. Not to mention the fact that they get to release this story that's been building up inside, and it comes out, and there's this cathartic, I can't even think of the word. It's very cathartic, and sometimes a little scary, sometimes a little anxiety driven, for sure. But it allows them to sort of break free from whatever other little things were holding them to that story, like if they just hadn't moved forward enough yet. But the reality is all these women have moved forward, and they are still moving forward, and they are constantly transforming themselves and transforming their lives. The beauty behind this as well is that these phenomenal women get to all be together, and they get to share their story together. They get to know each other, and they get to empower each other as they are empowering other women. So this is fantastic, and we're going to welcome you here tonight. You're going to get to know each and every one of our authors. A couple of the authors will be coming on shortly, but they couldn't make it on right away. And we do welcome your comments. Please feel free. We already see that Shelly Jean is on. So Shelly Jean is on, and she says, I have never been live from YouTube before. This is pretty amazing. Thank you for having me. Well, Shelly Jean, thank you for being here. And what we would like to also ask some of you to do already is, for those of you that are watching, share, please. Click that share link, although it's so hard to do it now on Facebook. Facebook is just so bizarre, they keep changing. But do your best to hit the share button and see if you could get anybody else to come on and hear this, because you're going to meet some really powerful women, and they're going to share their story. And then at the end, we're going to have a nice sort of group, conversation. And you could be a part of the conversation too. Please feel free to ask questions, put it in the comments. The authors will be able to see, and if they can't see the comments, we will be able to ask them and put them onto the screen. So just want to welcome everybody, and let's get the show going. So as we said, Her Badass Story 3 came out last Monday, March 6th. The ebook was released, and this coming Monday, March 13th, we're going to be releasing the paperback book, which I actually have a copy of. It's not going to have this line through it. This is the little the edited copy that it's like just for you to look at and check out, you know. But this is basically what it looks like, and it's the color's very pretty. And we have these phenomenal ladies with their phenomenal pictures in here. Not only do you get to hear their story, but you also get to know them with what we call the personality bio. And the personality bio is fantastic because you get more of a glimpse into what makes these women so badass and phenomenal. So I want to just give you some idea of what this story is all about. Her Badass Story is for women to come up and share who they are, speak their truth, step up and not be afraid to share what had happened to them, what they went through, and how their lives have transformed as a result of it. And in the hopes to empower and inspire other women to be able to step up and share their story and transform their lives. They might not need to do it in a book. They might not need to do it, you know, and shout it across the land. Even if they just affect one person by sharing their story and can change another person's life, they have done an amazing job. There's a quote that I have said for years: to the world, you are one person, but to one person, you are the world. I don't remember who says that. Actually, it gets misquoted all the time, so I don't actually know who really said that. But if you don't think that you can make an impact, you're just lying to yourself. You can make an impact, even if it's for just one person, because maybe that one person is going to make a massive impact. And that means that what you did for that one person, you did affect many, many others. So let's get started. And we're going to meet our first author. And we're going to have each author introduce themselves, and then they're going to answer 3 very specific questions. So the first one up is Margarita de Margarita. Margarita is one of my closest friends. She's my bestie. She and I co-host of the show Viva Café con Leche on Facebook and YouTube, Tuesday, Thursday mornings. And she has been in all 3 volumes. So she's been in the first 2 volumes as well. All right, Miss Margarita, please get started. Introduce yourself and let's answer these questions.
Hello, everyone. Hola, mi gente. Hola, milagros. I am Margarita de Margarita, which means that I belong to me. And I am the gladiator guru from the Viva Café con Leche. What can I say about myself? I have you here all day. I walk in my truth. I have learned from a very young age not to lie to myself. I've tripped and I've fallen many times, but each time I try to rise more powerful than I did. One thing about me is that what I've learned is to sit in my peace when chaos reigns around me. I sit in my peace, and this is how I invite my power back to me. And I believe that everything that happens has happened for a purpose. Bad things aren't meant to happen to us, but when they do, it is the courage within that gets us out. That is the most empowering thing we do. See, and I believe that everything I've been through has been guided. My walk through the valley of darkness has always been guided. I've always been walked beside, ahead, and protected from behind. So when I come out on the other side, I come out with carrying the kindness, carrying the gratitude, carrying the little crazy, because I am Margarita. And this is who I am. And I believe that there's a lot to learn. Every day I'm a student of life. I learn every day. But I'm very proud of my accomplishments from what I've endured, what I've how I've come out on the other side of many things. And I've learned that I am the vessel, I am the messenger, I am the voice for those that are voiceless in any type of guilt, shame, grief. I am here to be that voice. That is who I am.
Fantastic. Um, Margarita is no stranger to writing. While she has been in all three of her badass stories, she's also an author herself. She has published three other books. She just came out with another. She's came out with more publications. She's coming out with more this year. So she is just as badass as they get, and she is absolutely her truth. Absolutely her truth. So. Um, Margarita, you're a little different than the rest of the authors here because you have been in the other two series. So the other two books. So everybody gets the same questions, but yours is going to be a little bit more because you've been in the other two. So why did you want to share this particular story in this volume?
I chose this particular one because it had to be put out there. I self isolated, and after 4 months of healing on the inside, my body carried all the weight. So, although I gained many, many good things, but I've also, through healing on the inside, now it was for me to heal on the outside, which was my body, the protection, and everything. This particular story is because of us who have suffered trauma. Um, our body keeps score. And although we focus on shifting the mindset and forgiveness in the heart and healing of the spirit, we never remember the body. We never remember the body. The one thing that has never abandoned us, people have abandoned us, but our body still gets up no matter how exhausted, how much in pain we are. We get up and we do what we have to do. But in that body always being there for us, we have bullied it, we have shamed it, we have cursed at it, we have been ashamed of it. And I thought it was time because of my weight battle all of my life and society making me feel, and I've come across so many people that I've known personally that have done weight changes in their circumstances, and I'm trying to go on natural, which is going to be time consuming, and I'm fabulously 54 years old, and I think, okay, I need to get a head start. I need to just heal in my timing, and that was the whole purpose of the story, is to feed my spirit kindness and gratitude, to nurture my ego so that it can release all the fear and anxiety, and to love my body exactly where it is, and to look
Mm,
in the mirror and remind myself how phenomenal I am in any size.
fantastic. That's awesome. That's wonderful. And she is, by the way, I could attest to that she is phenomenal in any size. So I've seen multiple sizes. Um, what did it feel like for you to share this particular story?
It felt
like yeah,
very empowering. Go ahead.
what did it feel like for this particular one?
For this one, you know, when after you it went in and it was released on the 6th, there was no coming back from it. And let me tell you something that's very empowering. And I just, Yahweh has always, when you are in doubt, just pray and you will see things so clearly. And I've had a lot of things going on while writing this chapter, as Dr. Lori knows. I've had a lot of mishaps and chaos and plans that went awry. But I did what you did what I had to do. But I started looking in the mirror and noticing that my body heard me. My body heard me tell the world that I love it, that I'm in love with it, that I am proud of it, and that, you know what? That I thanked it for carrying me through all the tears and all the years of abuse and all the years of servitude to others and all the years of self abandonment. And I've been looking in the mirror and I've been feeling my clothes, and I'm not doing anything different, but I feel different. I feel lighter. Like the other morning I woke up, I was like, am I a feather today? Like, did I wake up in that type of personality? And I felt just happy. And that's what the story has done. It has allowed me to let go of a lot of baggage that I imposed on myself and that I allowed others to place me in a certain box. So it was very
Wonderful.
enlightening. It was very freeing.
Good.
If that makes any
Good.
sense to anyone. Watch
I
out
mean, I
now. Watch out now, because when I feel sexy, I'm dangerous.
I think all the authors can relate to that, and the beauty is that we want the readers to feel that as well, and that's why we are so vulnerable and we're so willing to be, because we know the power behind that. So
Hmm.
thank you for that. Why was it the right time to share this particular story?
Timing is everything. And I think I didn't realize, I didn't even plan on self isolating when I did in June. And when I came out of self isolation, the beginning of October, um, I felt like a rebirth within. I felt different. The discernment was very prevalent. The 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 choosing for me, the letting go of things that I didn't need. Why was that in the bin? Why was I holding on to this? Just letting, really freeing myself of people, places, and things. And in doing that, and doing it with kindness, because I didn't need to be mad at people to let them go. It's natural. It's like when the trees die in winter to be reborn on their own merit in spring. And I had to follow that. I had to follow the seasonal changes that occur every year without the need for humanity to step in and do anything. So I needed to cultivate myself to a point where my harvest was always going to grow according to how I tended to my soil and how I watered. And what happened is that I finally admitted to myself. I knew that I was always mean to myself, but I finally admitted to myself that forgiveness is also an outside thing. My body needed to know forgiveness. And so even though I kiss myself every morning, good morning, good morning, Margarita, you're beautiful. I love you. And I've been doing that for a while. It's like I lived it. I began living it, not just saying it and touching myself, but I was living it. Self isolation brought me to the core of who I am. And it was time to tell that, because I'm listening to people speak, and I'm listening to all these young girls wanting to go have all these surgeries. And although I'm not against it, but it's not for me. So I had to realize there's a lot going on. There's a lot of misery with body image, and I had to put it out there that you are who you are, and you are where you're supposed to be right now with everything you need to grow, even if it is a fupa.
Ah, fupa. Yeah, yeah, the fupa. That's when you, for those of you that don't know what a fupa is, it's that piece that hangs over. See, the younger ones don't get this just yet, but as you get to a certain age, it just kind of hangs over, and you're like, oh, that's where it is. Oh, I see it now. I look down. All right. So thank you, Margarita. I really appreciate that you speaking. And we are going to move on. And we will be back with Margarita at the end, when we're going to do everybody. We're going to have everybody drop their mics, and everybody's going to be answering questions all together. And remember, feel free to ask questions to any of the authors, or put a comment to any of the authors. They are monitoring on their end as well, specifically on Facebook. And we're also monitoring here in the studio. So next up is the fabulous Gail Craft. Welcome, Gail.
Hey, Lori. Nice to
All
be here.
right. All right, Gail, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then let's get to answering these questions.
Sure, a little bit about myself. There's so much to tell. So, I call myself an empowerment master, and the reason I do that is I've done a lot of soul searching, and part of that requires understanding language. And I realized that I am not a coach. I'm not going to cheer you on, right? And I have so many tools and so much experience, and part of that's in this book, that I'm beyond a coach. I'm actually a master, and I've stepped into that. And part of, like what Margarita was saying, part of this journey of self discovering and letting go, you start to own who you are, right? And so I'm a person who has learned to unapologetically own who I am and love it or leave it. This I'm a brilliant person. I'm an amazing person. I've done some remarkable things in my life, and I own every single one of it. And the story that I chose to tell is actually a very big turning point in my life. A couple of, and we all have more than one, guys. I'm sorry if you've experienced one or two. There's going to be many more in your journey, um, many more aha moments, and especially this particular one for me was when I realized that I had been a doormat. You know, I was very successful in business, and I thought that I was badass. I thought I was badass, and the point is that I wasn't. I was a people pleaser, and it was important for me, to get recognition, and you get that in business when you succeed.
Yeah. Um,
So this is one of those examples. I'm going in and out, I
yeah,
know.
you're cutting in and out.
You
So
hear now?
I do want to let everybody know too, just because I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Gail, so Margarita, Gail, and Misty have all been published authors before. So Gail has published two other books prior. She's in the process of publishing another book. And this and Misty has done her memoir, but Gail, this was the first time, right? You were sharing your own personal story, like your actual story of what you have gone through. Yeah. So, what was it
Yes.
like?
Yeah.
Why
And
did you want to share that story? Like, why did you want to share that story, and why was this the right time to do it?
oh, it's the right time to do it, so I'll work it backwards because there's so much happening in the world right now, that it's time for people to shed, right, the weights, and shed the anger and the frustration. This is a story of probably my angriest time in my life. It's not the most hurt time, but I was a raving maniac. A friend of mine said I had PTSD from the experience. That's how bad I was. And one day I looked in the mirror and I said, I don't like who you are, and I am surprised you still have friends. That is how toxic I had become from the situation in the book. And I started taking, I'm cutting out again. I started taking ownership of my piece. And when I admitted my responsibility, I'm accountable for my actions, that's when that's like the first step to forgiveness. It's like, okay, here's the role that I played in that. Here's what I was getting out of it. Here's the fear I was living in, why I didn't change when I should have changed. And, it's my fault. It's my fault. And it was an eye opener for me because then I was able to leave that history there. So in writing this story, it's because I think it's a story of a business being narcissistic, not a person being narcissistic. And the organization has always been like that and will always be like that. And I didn't understand that this is not a situation where you will thrive. You need to get out. So, people, if that little voice is telling you leave, you gotta leave. You gotta leave. Yep.
That was a big one, when with your story is just you know, picking up and doing, like making a big change and then realizing this was not a good change, and then picking up and making another big change. And the accountability piece is huge. I'm a big fan of accountability. It's like one of my favorite pieces. When this has been a whole life thing for you, and you and I talk a lot, so it's like I know a lot about you. When I know you've made so many changes over the years in general, did you feel anything specific with this? Like, was there a difference with how you felt actually writing this type of story and then publishing it? So, like, out of all the transformation you've done on and work and you've done on yourself, what did this feel like for you to actually write it down and then publish it, put it out to the public?
I've actually released so much. There was not a release in this one because there was nothing left to release, but there was a finality to it. So I put a period at the end of that sentence because the story was told in writing and is forever out there. And and there's no blame. I never mentioned the company. There's no blame. There's no shame. Right? It just is what it is. There are plenty of people who thrive in that kind of environment. I'm just not one.
Yeah,
That's all. Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
thank you for the period.
no, and that was wonderful. That's really wonderful because so you heard her. She'd already processed everything. She'd already done all that, but it added a finality to it, which is powerful. I mean, it's sometimes it can take decades for people to get to a finality like that. So that was really fantastic, and
Yeah,
and
great.
we're glad that you were there, Gail. It's a phenomenal chapter, and definitely and I think it's especially great for women to hear it because there are the personal parts of your life, but it's really focused a lot on business, you defining yourself in a business, in corporate and things like that. And I think a lot of women need to hear that because just be you, and then be honest with yourself, and you don't have to stay in an environment that is just not going to be suitable for you, that doesn't align with you. So
Well, if you don't,
fantastic.
then you'll get fired because you
Thank you
don't
so
belong
much
there.
for being here tonight. That's true. That's true. All right. So thank you, Gail, for speaking. All right. Next up, we have the fabulous Sam Monaco, and it is not a coincidence that we have the same last name. This is my absolutely stunningly gorgeous niece coming from down under. She lives in Australia, and she is also the youngest of the crew. I mean, in case you hadn't noticed, like, she's the youngest, but Misty's close behind. So she's young, but she's not that big of a dip. But and the beauty of her badass story, we could come from all different places, different countries, different backgrounds, different ages, but your story is your story, and it can empower throughout any age because it's a story of triumph. It's a story of finding oneself and celebrating your own personal resilience, and then moving forward and living the life that you've wanted to live. So Sammy, go ahead and introduce everybody to you, and then we'll get started on the questions.
No worries. Hello, everyone. My name's Sam Monaco. I live in New South Wales, Australia. What can I tell you all about me? I'm a horse nut. If you've read my chapter, you'd probably get that. I'm 22 years old, and my chapter pretty much centers around my journey to create my own business when I was only 19. A business that I'm very proud to say is very successful. I feel so lucky to have found my dream job so young. So I get to spend all day, every day with the animals that I love. I do a combination of massage and skeletal alignment on horses and dogs as well. And so I get to be outside working with animals, and life's just fantastic. I love it.
And one thing you'll learn about Sammy too, when you go into the personality bio section of the book, she is a multitude of talents. This beautiful lady, she has so many things that she does, and I can't wait to see what else. Like, she just every time I think, like, oh, okay, she knows how to do this. She knows how to do this. There's something else that she knows how to do. So one of the big things though for you, Sam, was the fact that, you know, this was a little scary for you to share this story. You know, there you were, you wanted to share it, but you also wanted to, you were a little hesitant. So how did it feel? We'll go a little bit backwards. We'll mix things up a little bit. How did you feel sharing your story?
Um, I've got to say I had some mixed emotions. On one hand, it was really great to get it out there. I've enjoyed writing my whole life, and I've never put anything out there before, so that was really exciting to be able to share a story with the world for the first time. But yeah, there was certainly a little bit of anxiety there because I talk about some of the stuff that I went through when I was younger, particularly in regards to family. I adore my family. They're amazing. They're super supportive. But being the eldest grandchild on my mum's side of the family, I suppose there was a lot of pressure to do well. My whole family before me had been very successful, a lot of them very successful in business. And I suppose there was it felt to me like there was a lot of expectation on the direction that I should take. I was pretty determined about what I wanted to do. I was going to ride horses at the Olympics. That was my goal. But I pretty quickly realized that wasn't a realistic expectation, and I just had so many people say to me, "You'll never make money off horses. You've got to get a real job." To the point that that stuck with me, and it took a few years for me to be able to realize, you know what, I actually can. And and here I am doing it, earning a living with horses. So so I've proved it can be done. But I suppose that made me a little nervous, telling the truth about those emotions that I maybe wasn't 100% honest with at the time, with others and with myself as well. So yeah.
So the beauty of your story is, and this is, it's inspiring. I know Sam and I talked, you know, I mean, when we talk periodically anyway, because she's my niece, but she did say with regards to her story, you know, she's like, you know, all of you ladies did, you know, you're so amazing, and you've been through so much, and I'm only this age, you know. And I said, yeah, but you're only that age. I mean, look what you have accomplished. Look what you're doing with your life. And the goal is to be inspiring at any age. And you're basically giving people permission. That's the beauty of her badass story. It's giving other women permission to just do and be who they are. And so you did this you started your business at 19, and you are kicking butt. You are really like busy, and it's growing, and you're amazing. And the beauty is that you're loving what you do, and you're very happy, and it's so noticeable. So why was this the right time? Like, you know, I had done the other two. What was it about this one that said, I want to be in this one. This is the one I want to be in?
That's a very good question. I guess I feel like I'm finally as successful as I want to be at this point. I mean, you know, obviously I keep on learning and growing and hoping to continue to get even better every day. But I'm finally confident in where I am. And I felt like it was important to get it out there because these days there is so much pressure on people in general, but especially young people, that you have to know exactly what you're going to do with your life before you finish school, and you have to either go out and get a job or go to university or get an apprenticeship. And it's just, there's so much pressure, and it doesn't need to be that way. Everyone will find what they're meant to be doing eventually. I was fortunate enough, I found it at 19. Some people might not find it till they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And I think that needs to be okay. So even if one person reads my chapter and goes, you know what, I'm going to apply for that job, or I'm going to travel overseas, or I'm going to learn something new, then I will have done a good thing. And Yeah, so I suppose that's why I felt it was the right time. I was finally confident enough in myself and in my own journey to be able to hopefully encourage other people to to take the leap as well.
Wonderful. I'm so proud of her. And she is an absolutely fabulous writer. This is her first go at nonfiction. She's a fiction writer. And hopefully now she has been bitten by the publishing bug to where she's going to actually release her fiction books because she is an absolutely phenomenal writer. She is one of those women that just whatever she decides to do, she does. She's multi-talented she plays multiple instruments. She sings. She would just get up and stand in front of a group of people and just start playing for money, like just out in the street or whatever. And that is badass right there. And another conversation that we had is she had said, I used to be so much more that way when I was younger. And then I just kind of stopped. I just started becoming more of a people pleaser. And then she took hold of her life. And I think that's that's another story right there, Sam, is the fact that you came to that conclusion. You saw the transition in yourself, which I think you did mention a little bit in the story, but we definitely elaborated more in private. But I do want to just acknowledge the fact that, yes, you were the youngest of the crew, but you held your own and you were absolutely fabulous. So it didn't make a difference. Age means nothing. So thank you for being here. We loved having your story.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. We're going to let Megan in. There's Megan. And we are going to bring our next author up. The beautiful Misty Compton is next. Misty.
Thank you, Lori.
Go at it, my dear. Misty is already an author anyway. So, but Misty, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody about who you are, and then we'll get answering these questions.
So I'm Misty, and I've written a memoir. Last year, I actually published my first book, and it's my baby, but it's not my only baby because I also have a son, my first son that I also gave birth last year. And my chapter is actually about my son. My past, I have a criminal justice degree, and I was working the business world for a long time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm this career woman and yeah, I'm strong. And then I get to the top and I'm like, this is not where I want to be. I'm like, this is not me at all. I'm a creative spirit and I'm very odd and quirky. And I'm like, okay, I got to be a writer. So random. And I'm like, let's just do it. And so now I'm a writer, kind of like Sammy. I'm actually venturing into not nonfiction, fiction. I always get those two messed up.
Sorry, you caught me while I was doing my greetings. I can't type and talk at the same time and then manipulate everything. So,
No, you're fine.
All right. So, my dear, I've known Misty for a couple of years, and I have seen her transition to some really cool stuff. And then I think the one that has suited her the most, I will have to admit, is motherhood. Like, she is just absolutely loving motherhood. And if you read her chapter, it really makes it special just how important the motherhood is for her based on what you're going to read in her chapter and in her book as well. So, all right. So you already had your memoir out, right? But you still wanted to be a part of this. Why was it important for you? I'm going to vary your question a little bit because you already had your memoir out. Why was it important for you to be a part of this particular book and share your story here?
I mean, like, this story is kind of in a different perspective. So for my memoir, it came from a more single-minded female that's got mommy issues. And then now in this story, I felt like I can talk about being a mother and use what wisdom and tools I've learned in the process. And I feel like it's a highly relatable chapter to women out there that are contemplating having children of their own that come from really bad backgrounds, or like they have toxic relationships with their mothers or just strained relationships in general with their moms. And so it was a chapter that I just really, really wanted to share and have other people know, you're not alone. Everybody hears that, but I mean it. And for a while I felt alone, like so alone. And just being able to have that expressed in this chapter is just exciting.
And you are, you share this one story. I'm not going to get into it because you have to buy the book. You have to get the book. Okay. You have to get the ebook. You have to get the print book, which will be out on Monday. But there's this poem, and that was like the pivotal piece to your chapter. And it was a poem I had never heard before. And it really took my breath away because the reason you even say that you talk about that poem was describing yourself. And I was reading it going, oh my God, I feel the same exact way. And I didn't even know any of that stuff about that particular tree. So see, I'm enticing. See, like we're like, now you want to buy the book because you're like, what tree is she talking about? So how did it feel? Like, it was one thing, like you said, to write your memoir. But after you released this, like after you put this out and it was in the book, was there a difference between how you felt when you released your memoir and how you felt releasing this particular story? Like not how it made you feel, like what you felt inside as this was getting ready to be published.
I felt very excited and empowered. Excited in the sense that it's going to relate to a lot of younger females that are contemplating pregnancy. And it's like, hey, I have a horrible background. Like, do I really want to jump into motherhood and be like, yeah, I'm going to be a great mom when you don't have a really good role model? So I'm excited because it's going to relate to a lot of those daughters, and they're going to know it's like, you are a lot stronger than what you think. I mean, that's something that I learned the hard way. I learned through therapy. I learned through like support from family and friends. But I was very it was very empowering to share my story. And the exciting part, I'm just kind of talking all over myself. I think I just shared everything I wanted to share, though.
You're doing great. Tell us, I'm gonna add another little question here, and I'm not putting you on the spot. I know you can answer this, but what do you feel sharing your story both in your memoir and in this book? What will that offer to even your own child, like your son and any future children you may have?
You're gonna make me all emotional, Lori.
Oh my God, I'm like Barbara Walters, right? Was Barbara Walters the one that always used to make everybody cry? Was it her? I think it was her.
Well,
I can't remember.
I was just like, with my memoir, it was a lot like, for me, it was more of like a therapeutic release. And I feel like with this chapter, it was more for my son. And I want him to know that I love him more than anything. And I don't want to change who he is. I'm going to get all emotional, just start weeping. But I really do love him. And like, this chapter was for him. Like, I dedicated it for him. And on top of it, like all the other daughters going through this, but it's like mainly I wanted him to know that I'm going to be the mom that he needs me to be, not the mom that I want to be to him, to give what I didn't have, because maybe that's not what he needs. And so I'm just writing this chapter to let him know that I love him. So if he's ever questioning, and be like, read this chapter.
That explains everything. Oh my God. Well, thank you, Misty. And you held it together. You did pretty good. So that's all right. No worries. So thank you so much for being here. And again, another phenomenal writer. Every single woman on here has done such a phenomenal job with their stories. They're all different, but yet they're all the same in the sense that we overcame. We learned something, and we're passing that wisdom on to other individuals, but also our own children, our own, our own family members, the people closest to us. So again, thank you so much, Misty, for being here. All right. Next up, we have Miss Robin Welshens. So Robin, introduce yourself, please. And then let's ask some questions to the lovely Robin.
Hello. It's so amazing to be here. Thank you so much for putting this project together, Dr. Lori. I just love you to pieces. And for those of you that weren't listening in on one of our conversations, I did ask her if she would adopt me. I am.
I think I asked you that too, though, because you have farm animals. So we were going to adopt each other. So
Yeah,
sounds good.
I am 62 years old and just finding myself. So, Sammy, you've done amazing. If you know me, I'm a friend. I'm giving, always serving, always lifting each other or lifting others up. And in that personality, I gave to everybody except myself. And so finally, after being a wife for 43 years, a mother to 5 kids, a leader in every area of my life, I finally decided to take responsibility. I have so many similar pieces of each of you and realize who I am. I was hiding behind all the things and limiting beliefs that I'd been told. And so I'm finally here and it feels really good.
And we are happy that you're here, Robin. I know Robin jumped in onto the project, and as she would write her chapter and then keep moving forward, she got more and more excited, more and more impact. Like, I think even just being a part of this catapulted her into another phase, because in the beginning, I just got to share this, Robin. In the beginning, we set times up where we're going to do group calls, and then they can do calls with me and as they're writing. And Robin goes, I'm not going to be able to go to any of them. I work like a ridiculous amount of hours, and I'm not going to be able to attend much of anything. I said, okay, not a problem. It's fine. So all of a sudden, what was it, like a month into it, Robin? I can't remember, 2 months in, you reach out to me and you say, well, I quit my job. And that was that. She just walked away. She had said she was so miserable in the job. It was so stressful. She was so tired. And then all of a sudden I get this message. Well, I just want to let you know I quit the job. So I'll be able to attend. I'll be able to attend. So how do you feel that writing your story, like in doing all this, like processing all of this, do you think that also allowed you to make the changes that you made these last couple of months?
Yes.
So elaborate on that. Talk about that.
When you asked us the question, what made you want to write your story? I have spent a lifetime trying to fix me. And I have 5 kids. One of them has done what Sammy's done. He had a business he was being sought after 15, 16, 17 years old. People were taking him across the country to do his craft. I look at what he's done, and that's me, but I was hiding me. I wasn't who God made me to be. I was hiding. I didn't believe in myself. I listened to all those negative words. And so the timing of everything coming together, I had to do this for my kids, to be an example for the other 4 kids on what being strong and healthy and emotionally healthy means.
And that's fantastic. And I think that we do put so much pressure on ourselves, especially as women. We, of course, we're the stronger gender, right? But we put a lot of pressure on ourselves because we say things like, oh, it's going to be, we're too old, we can't do this, it's too late, I'm just going to focus on my kids and we're just going to leave it at that. But we don't realize the impact that it has on our own children or the people around us. And to look at that and say, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to question why I didn't do it before. I'm not going to look back and just complain and should have, could have, would have. I'm just going to say, I'm going to do it. And whatever the motivating factor is, in your case, it was, I want to show my children. That was a motivator for me a lot too, is my children were very big motivators for me to change my life and transform myself. So how did it feel for for you to
Scary.
let's
It
hear
was
it.
scary. Yeah. Towards the end of the book, speaking of emotion, Misty, Dr. Lori got to see a lot of emotion as we worked through the last editing of the story. She really captured, helped me capture the things I was feeling and growing through right then. I've had, we've had trauma, we've had fires. And as I was seeking help to find out the best wisdom, the best way to handle the trauma for our kids, I realized that I had more than just that trauma. I realized that I'd stuffed a lot of trauma, and it was time to start dealing. I think it was Margarita you talked about. I'm sorry if I kind of forget at the moment. What our body holds. My body has held a lot of trauma, and so my not dealing with it, my avoidance, not writing the story, not making time to write the story. And my friend Debbie Waba Dowling is who recommended me to you. And she said, Robin, you need to do this. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't know where to start, right? I had a beginning, but it was emotional to get into it because I had to sit and I had to sit in my feelings, and I had to deal with writing my thoughts. And then Dr. Lori, you helped me formulate them into something that flowed and would make sense to others. And I'm so grateful for you. This is just the beginning. I have more coming too.
I agree. I think that's the beauty, is that once you start doing that, and I'll throw a little shout out to Gail here, because Gail's the flow person. Gail is all about the flow. And so once you start letting this out, all of a sudden it's like it's opening a good can of worms. Let's put it that way. And Robin definitely has more books behind her. Like there definitely is, because she has a much bigger story. Like she only touched the surface. And as we started chatting, I'm thinking in my head going, oh my, like she could definitely like keep going with this, because there's a lot there. So thank you so much, Robin, for being here. And the cutest thing about Robin was that she was so excited. Like, I think out of everybody, she was the one that she would be like, she was like busting, like could not wait to publish. She couldn't wait to like talk. She every time it would like, and it would get bigger each time, each email, each message I received from her, there was more of this like bubbling excitement. So you got me excited. So I appreciate that.
I'm very thankful to be connected to each of you.
Oh, thank Robin. We're fabulous. It's fabulous to have you here, and all of you ladies. It's absolutely fabulous to have you all here. All right, thank you, Robin, so much. We're going to go on to our next Miss Dina Bliss, and
That's me.
So go ahead and introduce and tell everybody who you are, Dina, and then we'll get into the questions.
So I'm Dina. I live in Marin County, which is just north of San Francisco, and I'm a mother of two amazing, we'll call them young men. They're 9 and 12, so they're becoming young men before my eyes. And I'm a realtor up here, and I moved to California 23 years ago, and it was just going to be for a short time. And here I am. I don't think I'm ever leaving. So I just love everything. It is. Sometimes I think it's, never say never. It was like famous last words. I did the whole, like, I'm moving there for a short time. Yeah. 23, almost 24 years later, here I am.
And here she is with an absolutely fabulous story. When Dina started to share her story, it went from one particular way to like the same story, but the way it was told just went like whoosh. And she went from I saw her in one state of being, and then after she wrote the final story, it was amazing to see how she just literally, like, in the Superman movies where he rips open his shirt and you have the S sitting on his chest. That's like, it was like she opened up her shirt you know, she has underwear under there. She's not just splashing herself. And there's like a big D on there, like for Dina, you know, or a big B for bliss, because if you read her chapter, that is what it is actually called. I am bliss. So, Dina, what was it about this time that was, why now? Why tell your story now?
Definitely it's very timely. So it's uh, basically the last, I'm calling it like hashtag the last 3 years, which I think we can all kind of talk about the last 3 years of our life through the pandemic. And I feel like we probably all have our pandemic story, and mine was definitely not what I expected. And uh, it was, my pandemic started a couple months before everybody else's pandemic started, and it was a lot of learning. And looking back now, you know, January 2020 was when my life completely upended, and where I'm at today, 3 years and 2 months later, I never would have guessed ever in my wildest dreams.
And that's, I think, one of the more remarkable pieces too. You know, some people it takes a longer time, and it doesn't matter how long it is, whether you transform your life in a very short period or a much longer period. We're not going to worry about timelines, because as long as you transform and you become the person that you were meant to be, that's the most important thing. The cool thing about Dina's, and she's another one, she has another story brewing, because she left out the thing she didn't talk about was her business, like how she went from this to that. She starts to talk about it, but the success in such a short period of time, she reminded herself of the person that she used to be, and took all those years of everything that she learned, and then just made like Dina 10.0, you know? So what do you want? So I'm going to vary the question a little bit. What do you want women to get from your story? What is it that you want them to take away from what you're sharing with everyone?
It's a great question. You know, it's like there's so many things. And it's funny because it's like I'm prepared for these questions, but now I want to cry as well, just like Misty. You know, January 2020, I was in my darkest time of my life, and it's funny because I tell my friends and tell people about this. I'm a talkative person. I am an extrovert on crack. Like I will talk to everybody and everyone around me. I've like dated men that I drive crazy because they're like, "Can you just stop talking to people?" Um, but I have a very hard time being vulnerable. So it's sort of this like bizarre situation where I keep my ex-husband actually was the first time, and he's like, "You have like these secret lives." I'm like, "I kind of do." Like, so because I keep things kind of really important things I keep very close to the vest. And this was probably telling the story is clearly the most vulnerable thing I've ever done in my life. And I'm realizing, I think if we were more vulnerable and we actually said our truths, I wonder what this world would be. If we could just say, like, one thing is my life was a facade, and it's hard to admit that. But if we could all do that, I wonder where we could relate with people. So I hope that people read my story and um, feel like they have the courage to be vulnerable and to say their truths and live their truth and to step off that ledge, because it's not easy to step off that ledge and to go do. And it's funny, Laura, you talked about that, about like where my business has gone. Like I've literally gone from like very new to this business to kicking ass in the business. And I just the other day, I'm coming up on year 2. April 7th or 8th is the I'll have 2 years in as a realtor. And I actually, with doing taxes and stuff, looked back, and I don't even think I realized the level of success and what I've accomplished in the last 2 years. And it was just within the last week or two, I've been like, damn, like I've done a lot in 2 years. And I still have a lot to do, and I'm excited for it. But I think also, and I think probably my next story that I want people to do is And I tell people to do this, but I need to remind myself too, celebrate your accomplishments. When you have those accomplishments, celebrate them and take that moment and that time to say like, yeah, I'm doing it, and I can do it.
Yes, 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 yes. That's fantastic. Um, You know, when the front cover was designed, the first time I was putting the volume one together, you go through this whole spiel, you get a whole bunch of designers, you tell them what you kind of want and have an idea. I had no idea. I just said, this is whatever empowerment, and got some funny ones. I almost wish I could have kept them because they were just so odd, like where people come. But the thing that really got me was the fact that this woman is jumping, like she's leaping in the picture. She's a shadow. She's anybody. She can be anybody. She can be any age. She can be any background. And she's leaping. And that's what these stories are meant to do. They are meant to get you to take that leap upward and celebrate yourself and celebrate your life, no matter where you are at this moment in time, because each day is different and you can go further and further with each breath that you take, each day that passes. Not every day is going to be a fantastic day as far as like it's going to be the big winner, but just knowing that you're on that journey and that you're supported by all these other women and the women in the past volumes, that's the beauty of this. You're not just inspired by, one person, you're inspired by multiple women here. And again, each of these women have just written such phenomenal chapters, and they're all so different. They're not just all about like, a health scare or something like that. They're all very, very different and relatable. There's always some piece that you can take from this. So Dina, thank you so much for sharing all that, and I can't wait to see what else you have.
Me too.
To say.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right, the last of our authors, and then we're gonna, after she speaks, we're gonna go sort of open our mics and have like an open forum. The lovely Megan Judge. So Megan, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll start answering some questions.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, co-authors. It's so nice to see all of you. Dina, I love what you said about California. I'm a Cali girl too. 23 years, I think, also. So thanks for having me.
So go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are, what you do. And then we'll start to ask some questions.
So my name is Megan Judge. I've lived like Dina but I'm in Los Angeles, which has had a lot of rain lately. And I know that San Fran has as well. I am originally from the East Coast, but I've lived here for 23 years. I am currently writing my own book. And I am a podcaster. So I've been podcasting for like 2.5 years, I guess, since COVID 2020. So I started in October of 2020 and it just kind of grew. And I'm a mom, and I'm a mom to 2 Labradors, and I'm a mom to a husband.
Yes, indeed, it is. So you basically have 5 children, right?
Yes,
2 furry ones and then 3 human ones. Yes.
Yes.
Yep. I'm so glad you said that, because that is the truth. They are like children.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. He wouldn't. Thank God he's not here right now. He probably wouldn't concur. Yeah.
All right. So you are in the process of writing your own book, but you wanted to come on board and you wanted to share your story. It's a very, very powerful story. It is a story of real vulnerability, because it is not something that has been in the past and people years later and people have moved on. It's a story that's in the past, but the players are even still around. And so it took a lot of courage to be able to write what you wrote. You do speak about this on your podcast, and that's what your goal is, to help women to empower themselves and deal with hard subjects. So what did it feel like? I mean, you talk about this on your podcast. What did it feel like for you to write it and publish it?
I think it was kind of like, I can't remember, maybe Robin said it. It was just, I had so much anxiety about releasing like releasing this chapter to the public and just telling my truth. And I know everything on the page is true. And I was really anxious and for it to come out, and actually kind of scared for it to come out. And now that it's out, I feel like, I think my, just like what I want out of this is just to help, like you said, help other women. And, you know, a lot of this, my story, not to give anything away, is about loss and losing, you know, people, but also, and grief, but also the way that people treat one another, and especially how women treat one another. Like, instead of lifting each other up, you know, there's so much jealousy and competition and mean girl behavior. Like, I joke a lot and I say Regina George didn't graduate from high school. Like, it'll continue forever. I mean, my mom's 79, and she's like works at Chico's one day a week, which is pretty funny because she wants to keep her brain going. And she is like, they're still mean girls. Like, and you know, I'm 79. So that's my goal, is to just like normalize talking to each other, and hopefully, without being too long-winded, that really freed me by writing this chapter.
Why was this the right time to put it on paper?
I don't know. I'm a big believer in things happening for a reason, and everything is about timing in life for me. And I think I'm still letting go of the anger piece, which I've talked to you about, Lori, and you'll be on my podcast this week. But I just felt like it was time. Like, I can't bottle my story up any longer. And I just, you know, even though I'm still living in its current, some of it, I just felt like it was the right time for me to talk about it and kind of take my life and my truth back. And also, like, if people are around, let them know that maybe whatever narrative they know is not the correct narrative. So
Oh, that's nice. That's good. You said something, you know, you said that there was a lot of anger there still.
mhm.
Do you feel that you released a bunch? I mean, I know you're still working through this because we've had conversations outside, you know, when we were like putting things together. And do you feel though that it was like one piece, like this added to your therapy for yourself, like this added to help you release even more?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. This was so very therapeutic. But somebody told me one time that the what anger is really comes from love, right? So when we're angry or we're hurt, it really stems from love. So like, maybe there's love started there, or there was something. Like, if I didn't have feelings about the people that were involved, I wouldn't have the anger. Does that make sense? So I think that writing this and releasing it was therapeutic for me, because it made me go, okay, I'm like one step closer. And also, like, for me, I talk pretty openly about the fact that if I can just like help every week, like one person, if they're going through some kind of loss or grief, like that selfishly heals me in a way. And so I hope that when somebody reads my chapter, that if there's one person out there that's going through something like I went through, like that, if one person is helped by this or makes it like normalized how I was feeling, then that's huge to me. And that's really what I care about.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful. And that is the premise of the book. The premise is for women to empower other women. So now that everybody's been introduced and you've met everybody, we have till the end of the program, which will be about just a little shy of 20 minutes. But so I want to encourage all the authors here to you know, you can drop your mics. You can drop it when you're ready, but whoever wants to answer the following question. So why do you believe that it's really important for women to start being there for each other? Who wants to start with that answer? Go ahead, Gail. Gail raised her hand. This is so lovely. We're in school.
Oh,
Okay, good.
okay. Well, hopefully I don't get kicked off in the middle of this. I'm doing this to my cell phone, so the quality's not great. Women have been raised to be competitive with one another, and we could go on and on about the emotions and the mindset and all of the stuff that's been bred into us. The moment that we embrace each other, we are ridiculously powerful. And I'll tell you how I know this. The first time I decided to be an entrepreneur and be in business on my own, I had no clue what I was doing. I come from corporate, and I joined a women's co-working place in San Diego. And that place is not just to go and work. They had training there, they had programs there. I had any resource I wanted to learn how to be an entrepreneur, and we supported each other twice a month. We had after hours wine, and we would just network with each other. It was amazing. And that's when I embraced, hey, look at these women that are kicking butt. I mean, you internationally famous, well-known businesswomen, because they're supporting each other. When women get together, watch out, world. It's amazing. That's why we can do amazing things.
Fantastic. Anybody else want to elaborate on what Gail's saying? Go ahead, Margie.
Okay. Right.
Oh, you just muted yourself again. Wait, hold on. Let's see if I could unmute you.
You can't hear me. I don't know
got
what's going on.
I
Now
got you.
I'm here.
You gotcha.
I'm totally right here. But I agree with Gail. And the thing is that women, there is too much competition. You gotta seek your tribe, because there's someone out there for you. There's a group, there's a tribe, there's a circle, there's something, there's people. You have your people. And the one thing I heard a lot, and I was guilty of saying it for some time until I was like, that doesn't sound right. The only competition we should have, they say, is with the person we were yesterday. So in this, the reason for my chapter, in this feeding your spirit, nurturing your ego, loving your body, and unfucking your brain from all the negative thoughts that you just bombard yourself with, is that instead of competing with the woman you were yesterday, befriend her, because she went before you to open the door for you to walk through today. And I think when we do that, then we are, what Megan said, normalizing the humanity, the kindness, the gratitude of who we are, to outpour it to all the other ones who might feel in doubt. And it all starts with the cultivating of self. When we cultivate self-trust, self-respect, self-honor, we are cultivating self-love. And that is what makes the world go round. And we need to start just living in that, breathing it, speaking it, walking in it. Anybody has anything to say to that?
I do, I'm going to have Robin and Megan, and then we have a question from the audience too, which from Milagros, who was actually in her badass story too. She was one of the authors. But go ahead, Robin, then we'll get to Megan, and then we'll get to Milagros's question.
I just wanted to give confirmation of having the right tribe around you. There is no question that over the last, I'm going to say 4 years, I joined a mastermind and began meeting other women, men too, but the women have become sisters. And it's hard to explain when you have a group so deep behind you, how you explain that to people here that you see every day. Because the people that I see here every day are supportive, but this group of women that are like-minded, like-hearted, some of them are on here today. They've gone through things and they message every day. They call and say, I miss you. They encourage. And I can't find the words how important that group behind you to give you that courage when you don't have any is. It's just amazing. And if you don't have a group like that, man, you need to find it, and we can help direct you.
I will add to that. And, Lori, you're an example. If I have an opportunity to work with a man or a woman and they're equal, I will pick the woman, because she will come with compassion and from the heart 100% of the time, no matter who she is. So, it's if they're equal, I will pick the woman. I'll pick the man if they're not, for sure. But definitely, yeah, the sex does help.
And she did. And she did. That's the irony. She's speaking her truth because she did. And I appreciate that. Thanks, Gail. Go ahead, Megan.
I was just going to say, I think something that's important. Sorry, my lab knows how to open doors, one of them. So she was just coming in and going back out. Is my story, and like what I talk about in the book, is being in a dysfunctional friendship group and kind of like the mean girl aspect. But the best thing about my story and like talking about what we're talking about is mine kind of taught me what kind of women I want to surround myself with. And so now I have, I obviously have my lifelong childhood friends that have known me since I was little and supported me. But it's weird how these wonderful women just like walked into my life. It was almost like sometimes when you free yourself of like, because I wasn't always and I talk about this in the chapter, I wasn't always as nice as I was now, but it really came from like an insecurity thing of like, how we all feel about ourselves, where we're scared to really be ourselves. We all kind of, as women, are taught to like wear a mask and everything's about the man and, getting a boyfriend and getting married and like that whole thing. And then all of a sudden, I really am so lucky because I have so many great friends. And at the end of every day, when I go to bed at night, I'm like, I wasn't a bitch. Like, I'm a good person. Like, I'm not in this like mean girl friend group where everyone talks about each other and they're all jealous, Like I surround myself with women of substance, like all of you, that think it's important to tell our stories and like share our truths with each other and other people. It's very brave of everybody sitting here, and Lori, who inspires me and helped me so much to put yourself out there, because many people don't, and so you should all be really, really proud of yourselves.
May I please add one thing quick?
Yes, Robin.
I think Megan's spot on. I believe that I was a loner on my horse, Sammy. I grew up on my horse. It's what got me through the trauma. It was my escape. And I believe as we become who we're supposed to be, the right people are attracted, right? It's just like in a dysfunctional male-female relationship, or relationships in general, you're attracted to what you're comfortable with. And I stayed alone because I didn't trust. As I met this incredible group there are men in it that are, we have bonds with too, but this incredible group of women, we were attracted because of who we became and the experiences we've had and the hearts and the purposes we have. And so I definitely, I think we're attracted at the right times.
I agree. And what Megan said too is that you are, when you pull away, you push away, or whatever way you want to say it, the old you and the old people attached to you, you make room for what's going to come to you. And Margarita always says this. She's like, you can't know the light unless you've been in the dark. You can't know the good unless you've been in the bad, with the bad. And so, and she would say this a lot on when we would do our show, and it would sit with me because it's the truth. There are some people out there, bless their hearts, that everything has gone smoothly for, and their lives, and they're good people, and they've never really had to deal with too much. But then there's the vast majority of us who've had to deal with stuff, And then we had the insight and the awareness to see that it was a struggle, and then that we had to learn something from it, and then we changed and we transformed as a result of it, you know. So I agree. I mean, it just opens us up to bring in that, and then also put out that energy to attract these other individuals in and be all together in one group. So I want to. So Milagros Medina had a question. Milagros was the author in her Badass Story too, and she said, "How did they know about the book, and how and did they read the other books?" So let's ask that question first. How many of you had a chance to read the volumes 1 and 2? Because I know everybody got copies. Okay. And so, what were your thoughts on that? What were your thoughts? I know Margarita's. You're cheating, Margarita. You're putting your hand up there, but what were your thoughts reading their stories? And did it inspire you even further? Anybody? Megan, you want to answer?
Sorry, I was muted. So I found out about the book because my childhood neighbor, Rachel Kaufman, was in book number 2. And I was so inspired by her story, like something that I kind of had an idea about, but just reading her chapter and then reading everyone else's chapter, that was kind of how I found this. And then Rachel was like, you should write a chapter. And that's kind of how it happened, just very organically.
Nice. Who else? Who wants to talk? Dina? Okay.
Yeah, if I can real quick, because Laura, you and I met, so it's such a COVID way to meet through Clubhouse. And if everybody's familiar with Clubhouse, and you put on one day about this book. I remember when we first talked, because I had no idea what the book was. And I wasn't too sure if I was really ready. Like our first conversation, I don't know if you remember, I was sort of like, that all just happened. I feel like it should be maybe a year or two down the road, but I'm sort of intrigued by what your process is and what you're doing here. And then I realized really quickly, like, no, this is the time this needs to be said. So I had no idea this existed until September, I think. And I'm very grateful to have learned about it. So thank you.
Great. I'm glad that we were the kismet. I'm glad that we were both in the right places.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to elaborate on the stories from the other one? Go ahead, Sam.
So because Laurie's my auntie, I knew about it from the beginning. And when you first advertised that you were looking for people to contribute to the first one, for a moment, I think I would have probably been 19 or 20 at the time. And for a moment I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. But then I stopped myself and I didn't reach out because I was like, no, I'm so young. What do I know? And anyway, I was like, oh, maybe the next one. Then I read the first one when it came out, and I read the second one when it came out as well. My mum actually bought me the paperbacks of both of those. So thanks, Mum. And it's sort of I was just in awe of all these, amazing women and the things they'd overcome. And that sort of pushed me even more to be like, no, there's no way I can be included in something like this. Like I haven't lived and I've been through nothing compared to so many of these of these other women. And then it wasn't until this time around that I finally realized, you know what, we're all different. Everyone's had a totally different experience, and no one is better or worse than anybody else. And we all have had different situations and handled our different situations very differently. But I just feel very, very lucky to have been able to collaborate with all of you amazing women on this. And I'm very proud to be a part of it.
My mouse wasn't working. And I was thrilled that you came on to this one. Margie, you wanted to add something? You're muted again. Margie in that microphone. Hold on, Margie.
I honestly have never heard her this quiet in my life.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Okay, there we go. Go ahead. Go ahead, Margarita. Yep.
I just wanted to tell all you ladies, I am honored to be in this book with all of you. And I am grateful to have my story amongst all of your stories. Robin and Megan said something earlier, and what Sam was just talking about, and it is all the abandonment issues, all of the disappointments in our lives, all of the anger, all of it, it all stems from love, right? Lack of love, misdirected love, and but we are the love that we seek. And I think in the being unapologetically courageous and saying, I'm going to do this now, because the bottom line that those who mind don't matter, and those who matter will never mind what you do, what you say, how you go about doing it. So keep going. For those who are writing books, please let us know. We'd love to participate, buy it, share it, support you in any way we can. And it's all about love, but it all comes from self-love. Understand who you are, and you can understand those around you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Margarita, I'll be sure to tag you.
Yes, please do.
You know, the bottom line is this, that everybody has a different story. Everybody has different backgrounds, different age, but we're all the same. You know, first of all, we're all human. We're all women. And we all have feelings. We all feel a certain way about ourselves. We all live our lives in a very certain way. And I always think back to the beginning of Eat, Pray, Love, when she's talking about her friend, the journalist, who was what was she was writing a story about what were they, refugees. And she's thinking, what am I going to be able to talk about, like, to refugees? I don't know anything that they've been through. And then all that the refugees wanted to talk about were the relationships that they had in the refugee camp. Who this one liked me, but now he doesn't like me anymore. And it was all this very relatable, typical stuff that happens. So just because it's a different culture and a different, you know, area of the world, we all feel the same way. You know, we all have wants, we all have desires, we all have ways, you know, how we feel about each other. And it doesn't matter what your story is. In the end, it's relatable to somebody because they know how you're feeling. Whether they had the same experience or not, it's in the end, they know how you're feeling. And that to be able to encourage somebody to move beyond that self-limiting idea in their minds, that is the whole point of sharing your story. And maybe it isn't sharing it through a book, but maybe it's just sharing it with that one person, like I said in the beginning. It's just enough to get that person, the other person, to think in a different way and change their lives for the better. And in the end, it affects you anyway, because when you share and you get vulnerable with somebody and you and inspire somebody else, you end up healing in the end. Your wounds can be healed. And I think that we can all use that a lot more in this world. Like the reason we are the way we are because wounded people wound people. And we all need to look inward and heal ourselves, but it also helps to have that tribe to be able to say, I know what you're going through. I'm here for you. I will help you go through, and you're going to in turn help them. So I want to thank everybody for coming on this evening. And again, if you have not purchased your copy already, it is available on Amazon, the ebook, but Monday is the official release of the paperback book. So you can have it in your hand, which we definitely encourage you to do so, because there's always one special part in this book, and this is in all of the volumes, is the very last chapter is for you. So you can't do that on the ebook, but the very last chapter is yours. And so you can actually, you have a few pages to be able to write your own story. And you can be a part of every single book. If you get every book and you write your own little story in that chapter, you're a part of every single book. So I want to thank all of you ladies. Ladies, it's been, see, you're talking about getting emotional. I'm going to start getting emotional. It's been an honor working with you and hearing your stories and having you be a part of this book, but also just knowing you, I'm a better person because you're all incredible and you really are badass. So deserving of being in this book. I just want to thank everybody so much for coming on and watching this, and the authors. You're just amazing. And keep it up, ladies. Keep inspiring and empowering and doing your badass thing. I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight, and take care. And thank you for listening to Her Badass Story 3 Summit.
Thank you.